every single day we open the blinds and we see the Caribbean Sea. And we look at each other and we're literally happy personally, so happy professionally. Like, I really do think that we are both living our absolute dreams.
This episode starts with a very simple sentence. Well, let's just move to an island. No plan, no certainty, just two people deciding not to ignore their voice anymore. What follows isn't some polished transformational story. It's anxiety. It's leaving a career that made sense. It's starting over in a place where you know absolutely no one. It's homesickness, it's doubt, and wondering if, in hindsight, you made a huge mistake. And then something shifts. Not all at once, not clearly, but it's enough to realize that maybe the life that you were holding on to wasn't actually working in the first place. This episode isn't about escape. It's about what happens when you finally listen and then have the actual nerve to act on it. Because the real risk isn't changing your life, it's staying in one that no longer fits. So, Stacey, it is such a pleasure to have you on my podcast today. You know, I feel like from what I know of you, you've had one of those lives that doesn't fit into a single sentence. You know, you've been a teacher, healer, singer, I understand, entrepreneur. You're now this island transplant. So maybe before we dive into your career path, who's the real Stacey, the one that doesn't fit in the bio? What would surprise people who only know you as the yoga wellness person? What would they surprise to learn more about you?
That's a good question. Yeah. So going beyond, like you said, the teacher, the healer, the sister, the wife, all those things. I am very, very, very spiritual. I've become very spiritual in the last few years. And so I am very connected to what I call the universe, the spirit world. I'm very connected. I spend a lot of time out of my thinking brain and I spend a lot of time in meditation. And so I have found in my journey over the last, few years, 5 years or so, just being able to connect to, I mean, everyone has a different way of, if it's God or the universe or higher realms or whatever. Like I said, I say the universe, but yeah, I'm very, very connected to the spirit world.
Really? And so in what way, how do you do that? How do you connect with the spirit world? In what way do you do that?
So basically, I mean, it's been through breath work and meditation that I have been able to get out of the thinking brain. So a lot of it is doing breath work and meditation, and then getting to that point of stillness. But I mean, I say this like just close your eyes and shut shut your thoughts
I
off.
like that.
It's a practice. It's a practice. It's something that I have been putting into practice for years. And so just like we, train our physical body, it's like training the mental body to the mental brain to get out of those thoughts. And once I get out of those thoughts, then I'm able to, download messages or hear. Sometimes I hear other voices. Um, or see, like when my eyes are closed, I can see like little visualizations of things. So it's a practice, that has taken a long time. I think it's been 15 years now that I've been working with silencing the brain, and obviously some times in my life it's went more better than
Right.
others. But yeah, so that it's that's how I stay
Very
connected.
cool. Very cool. You were a teacher for many years, teaching first grade, or at least in elementary school. And
Uh,
yeah,
yep.
teachers live in a world of, I guess, progress reports, grades, outcomes. wellness doesn't work. The work that you do around meditation, around wellness, around yoga doesn't always give you that instant feedback. So how do you adjust to measuring fulfillment in feelings instead of the concrete results that everyone's always accustomed to?
Good question. So I work mostly one-on-one with people, one-on-one or, couples, private, like small group with, more that than big, some of my teaching is big classes, at studios, but mostly I'm one-on-one and, it's it's conversations with people, like and it's having a conversation of what do you want to get out of the session, or a lot of times I work with people and it's not a one-time thing. It's it's been a year that we've been working together, so I measure it based on how the person is telling me and how they're feeling, so whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, whatever their goals are, it's just me helping them to reach whatever that is, but how are you feeling, and you know um based on what they need support with, it's conversations, and then obviously as a teacher I can just see the
Right.
progress, as well too, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, because I'm working with the holistic body.
Hmm. Very interesting. And so when you think about that transition you've made from teaching, where your day never really ends because you're always preparing and planning and giving to your students, and now that you help people slow down and breathe, how hard was it for you to unlearn that kind of constant motion and saying yes to less and more to yourself?
um Repeat that
Yeah,
again.
yeah. I mean, so when you help people slow down and breathe, right? And so how hard was it for you to unlearn the constant motion of being a teacher and then now kind of unlearning that behavior of
Mhm.
always going, going, going. And now you're obviously busy as an entrepreneur, and obviously as being able to help find people to ensure that they're centered. But how have you unlearned your own personal sort of the way your life was before when you were constantly in motion and having to say yes to everything now to saying yes to less and sort of now slowing down and breathing more for your own self?
So I left the classroom about 15 years ago. And the reason I left the classroom was because my own health was struggling, and I had just completely burnt out. And so I was really struggling with anxiety, and I was having like panic attacks and anxiety attacks, and I wasn't feeling well. And so at that stage of my life, um, I didn't really I didn't really like I wasn't grounded. And so then when I'm thrown into, these big classrooms, and you have all these expectations coming at you, and sometimes 35 kids in a room, little kids in a room, and you need to figure out what they all need. And um I didn't have the tools I have now. Whereas now, fast forward 15 years later, and the healing that I've done on myself, as well as all the trainings and the experience I have working with, people, I am a lot more grounded. I have those practices now, so it's easier for me, I guess, to. I'm showing up to my work now in a different way, essentially. Whereas 15 years ago, I didn't have anything. I was in a classroom, and I didn't know I didn't have the let's just take a moment and breathe first thing, or class, or go for that 15-minute walk to, smell the air. I was already starting the day going, oh my God, fasten your seatbelt. It's going to be crazy. Maybe drink extra cups of coffee. And, now it's like I prepare. So I'm prepared, mentally, emotionally, physically, to work with the people that I do in a different way. So therefore it's easier, I guess, to uh, help people.
Hmm, very interesting.
Way.
And you didn't make this leap alone. So you were grew up in Regina in Saskatchewan, right? And you of course didn't make this leap alone. Like how hard was it to convince your partner that it was time to pack up and leave Regina and head to the Cayman Islands? And was it your idea? Was it a joint dream? Or did one of you need more convincing than the other? Tell us a little bit more about that and that major pivot.
Yeah, so I've had two pivots. So one is the 15 years ago, leaving the classroom. Um, and that was, I mean, that's what I went to school for, right? So it was, this is, how I was raised was you pick something, you go to school for it, and you stick with that profession. And, I did it for, I was in the classroom for 8 years. And then I just wasn't feeling good. Like my health was really suffering. And, um, that's when I first got into the yoga and first I guess that's when I first kind of started looking within and realizing like I need to not need to want to make a difference with myself first because I was very unhappy personally and professionally at that time. Um so that from there, I actually got into the wellness field in Saskatchewan. So I ended up opening up my own business, and I went really far into um, teaching yoga and then massage therapy and all a bunch of my other naturopathic modalities that I have in practice now. And then I had my own home based practice for about, I think it was 6 or 7 years. And then COVID hit, and that was I know it was so, so unfortunate for a lot of people, and I'm not ignorant to that. But for us, thankfully, it was actually the moment where we paused, and we realized how unhappy we were, and mostly in our environment. I've growing up in Saskatchewan, being in the cold, bitter winters, and then also struggling with my mental health. The no sun, the cold, not being able to go outside really played a part on how I felt mentally. So it was honestly, we were sitting in the living room, and I can remember this moment, and my wife said to me, "Well, then let's just pick up and move to an island."
Just like that. I love that.
And at the time I just said, okay, like, well, what island? And then, like my wife, she's traveled the world, so she started then, grabbing her I'm typing now, uh, her computer, and she's like, well, we could go here, we could go there, we could go, and like I'm thinking, well, for me, I've only been to, at this point, I had only been to 5 countries in my life, and I never lived outside of Canada. I had never lived more than an hour from my family. And, and so originally I said, well, let's just pick up and move to Vancouver. Let's stay in Canada or Toronto, Vancouver, like where I've been before. It's 3 or 4 hours back to Saskatchewan. We're still in Canada, like we're taking a leap. And my wife said, listen, if we're going to pick up and move and leave our everything we've worked for, our home, our and to completely start over at 40, no, 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 no. We're going big. We're going to let's try an island. Like you're cold all the
I love that.
time.
Good for her.
She's
Nice.
like, you're cold all the time, so why don't we go to an island? And literally, we just started. Then I said, listen, if we can find work, and we can make this happen, I will commit to moving to an island for a year. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, how,
Yeah.
like,
Yes. We'll make her happy. We'll give her what she's thinking, but this isn't actually going to come to fruition. Forget it. Yes. Yeah.
right, exactly. So a lot of little Google searches, and here we are.
Yes. Oh gosh. Wow. It's so funny hearing your story, Stacey, because I can relate to the same thing. Both our spouses, our wives' names are Janice. They're very good friends. And it's
Yes.
the same thing, our own adventure on our trip around the world, where I remember on our honeymoon, she said, like, I want to take our young family on a trip around the world. And I'm thinking, are you kidding me? We just got married. We just bought a house. We just started careers, like all these justs, right? And all of a sudden she's like, let's take
Yep.
our adventure. We haven't even thought about kids, how many, notionally, but nothing specific, right? Because there's so much going on. And she's like, let's take our
Yeah.
eventual family. Like, I want, life is short, trip around the world. Like, this was, on our honeymoon. And so fast forward 10 or 13 years, I guess 10 plus years later, it was her idea. She's like, I'm like, okay, well, maybe we can do an extended trip. I kept on, kind of baby steps, but she was kind of like all or nothing. And it's 10 years to plan and
Yeah.
to save towards something like this. Life happens. COVID happened, as you talked about, right? And the unfortunate circumstances there. But similar to you, that was kind of like our, I don't want to say epiphany, but it just kind of cemented to home like, oh, wow, it's life is sacred. You got to take advantage of the opportunities that are given to you. And I'm so glad that you made that move because it's so amazing to see you've shared the pivot not only from teacher to I don't say healer, but someone who was focused on the wellness industry, a yoga instructor, and all the pieces that sort of supports around that as well. And then another pivot from that to the Cayman Islands, which is wow, amazing. Like that's crazy. I mean, so you did the year. Oh, of course, why is everyone calling today? I'm ringing the doorbell today. So you did the year. You're focused on the year. That was what the whole
So
agreement
yeah,
was.
when I went and it initially said like let's do it for a year, I think in my brain I could commit to the year
Yeah,
knowing that yeah, a year is not that long. Let's give it a try. If things don't go well, we can always
yep.
come back. Um and to be honest, the first year was super rough. I had in Canada, I had my own business, so I had been entrepreneur now for over 10 years. So moving to the island, and that was kind of part of my hesitation, like the starting over, because I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to work for somebody, probably be starting in a clinic setting, and likely doing just massage therapy, which I'm still very connected to that therapy, but um, I do now. I have a wide variety of different offerings, so I knew that I was going to have to kind of start there. And to be honest, like the first place I was at was, I think I was there for like 4 months. That didn't really work out. Just the space was super small. So, and I was doing a lot of it was a sports clinic, so I was doing a lot of like sports rehab, but also just the room. Like that, I was thinking there's no way I can do 4 or 5 massages a day in this small space. And then I ended up renting another space. It was a yoga studio, which was perfect because then I taught yoga, and then I also had like the room to offer some services. But again, it really came down to working for myself that just did feel in alignment. So then I out one day, and this is Grand Cayman is very small. It's very like small town feel. And so a friend of a friend kind of introduced me to a lady. She's Caymanian. She's been on island forever. And she just said, like, what do you want to do? Like, what would make you happy professionally? And I'm like, because she knew I wasn't super happy. And I just said, well, I would love to do what I do, but run my own business essentially. And so how it works in the Cayman Islands is being an expat, you need somebody to hold your work permit that is Caymanian. If you if you are going to start a business or take out a business license, until you've been here and you have like status. She said, "Well, I'll just open a business for you, and let's just do this." Like she met me and she's like, I can see you are so passionate about what you do, and I don't want this island needs people like you, so you and I. And so she took out a business, and now this is my third year. Just finished my third year as an entrepreneur here in my own business. So yeah, it's
Unbelievable. That is wow. What are the chances of that? That is, when it's meant to be, it's meant to
well,
be. Amazing. And so are you still operating under her business then?
I am, yes. So it's her business. I am working under her business. The business is called Vita, but I go by Island Breather. Um, Island Breather on my Instagram handle, and most of the people on the island know me as Island Breather. But yeah, it's actually when I say it out loud, I was saying to my wife the other day, I was like, we just picked up and moved to a country where we knew nobody, and then on top, I'm going to start a business where I think like I knew one person.
Wow. Wow.
I like these challenges though, I like putting myself in situations that challenge me. And I'm like, what's the absolute worst case scenario? And I know that I'm Canadian, and I'm so fortunate for for, the privileges that I do have. So, I mean, our absolute like worst case scenario is we go back to the life we had in Canada. And I would start my business up there again. And ride the island and it didn't work, or we try somewhere else, or, actually, your wife, Janice, she, this just came to me right now. She said to she said to Janice, my wife, she said to her, and we first said we were moving to the Cayman Islands. She said, I'll give you this one piece of advice. And this has really stuck with me, especially that first year when things were really tough. She goes, here's the thing, take the leap together and jump. And if you fall, you have each
Oh,
other.
my of course my wife said that. So this is that okay. Wow.
Yeah. And that I have to tell, and maybe I shared that with Janice when she was here visiting the Cayman. But I remember that specifically, especially that first year, because I'm like, well, you know what? If things don't work out for us, I have my wife, and we're doing this life together. So, we can just rely on each other
That's
like that,
beautiful. That's beautiful. Wow.
So yeah,
I'll have
yeah,
to let her know. I'll have to share that with her. That
you
is, oh, powerful
that's
stuff.
I haven't thought about that. I really haven't.
Which is I'm not
Yep.
surprised because that she was the catalyst of us doing all kinds of fun-filled things I probably wouldn't have done on my own. But with her as a partner in crime, as the same thing as you, right? Your situation, it just seems like it's a much more bearable. There's always safety in numbers, I guess, as they say, right? And I love what you said earlier. Like, did you both look at each other at some point and say, like, what have we just done? What was that first week like? Unpacking boxes while realizing there's no such thing as dry heat anymore.
Charles, if I can be honest, like I said, August was 4 years. We wake up every single day and we look at each other still. And I mean, this is going to be like maybe rubbing it in people's faces, but I'm talking. I'm talking to you and I'm actually like looking at the sea, like we're that close in. And so every single day we open the blinds and we see the Caribbean Sea. And we look at each other and we're literally happy personally, so happy professionally. Like, I really do think that we are both living our absolute dreams. And so every day, 4 years into it, and I said to her, like, it, the day that we don't feel wow, what did we do? I think that's maybe time to do something different or make a shift. But it's still I'd say every day we're like, we start our day with coffee down at the water. It's after our workouts in the morning. And we literally look at each other and go like, this is our life. Like, this is what we're doing now. This is amazing.
I mean, the fact that you can be self-aware and realizing and just be grateful for what you have, because like anything else, after you do things on repeat, after especially 4 years, you start taking it for granted. You open your curtain, like, okay, there's the ocean again. One of the things I try to appreciate for myself is even as we get into the winter months here in Canada, I'm someone who loves the warm weather. Maybe over time, like I get far more colder quicker than I ever have. And before, like as a kid, you never feel cold, right? And so you see that in my kids, and you see the kids who are running around. You're like, seriously, but that this is how they are, right? There's always a sense of maybe because they're always moving around, but you just get used to life, and it becomes you kind of fall into kind of autopilot, right? And I think the whole thing is that when you're on autopilot, it erodes your competitive edge, or you start to take things for granted. You find a nitpick on things here and there, and I'm sure that happens. But the fact that you say that every morning you realize, like, wow, this is where I get to call home for however long you decide to do that, is amazing. But I want you to talk about the reality of paradise. Like the Cayman Islands are stunning. My wife Janice had a chance to visit you. I'm still waiting for my invitation to come, but that's okay. I understand these things take time. But I mean, paradise isn't. I would think it isn't always peaceful. Like, what's been the most surprising part of actually living there? The magic or the messiness? You talked about the magic. What about the messiness of being on an island?
Yeah, I mean, it's very small town, as I mentioned. So everyone knows everyone. Which can be good, but
Yeah,
also,
figures
it
much.
can be a
Yeah.
little challenging at times. And then sometimes when you just, you want to go to the grocery store and not see 20 people and
You just gotta get your stuff and leave as opposed to having small talk with everyone, right?
yeah, there's no quickly grabbing
That's
eggs.
hilarious.
Unless you want to like sometimes I go incognito and I put on like glasses and I'm like, all right, where are the eggs? Let's go for the eggs. And I'm like, sometimes I'll even put on my headphones and I'm like, I'll pretend I'm like listening to something that's like super, and I'm in, oh, hi. Oh, yeah. I'm like, really, I'm into this right now.
That's awesome.
But no, I mean, it is, like I said, it's a blessing and
Yeah.
and a curse as well. Um,
So interesting.
so the mall. And so like I know you're Toronto and this is gonna sound really
Yeah.
silly when I say the traffic. But
Yeah.
I'm a
Tell me about the traffic in Grand Cayman Islands. Yes.
okay, so I know I'm preaching to the wrong choir. However, you know what? I did say after being because we were in
Oh
Tokyo,
yeah. Mm.
this after I said to Jen, I will not complain
That is
about the traffic.
hilarious. Yes.
After and I mean, when I say traffic here, I think the thing is because it moved, we're slow, like we're
Yeah.
small, and then it takes if in rush hour
Yes.
traffic,
Yes.
it takes it you're just moving so slow, and it affects me because I'm a mobile service, so I go
Mm.
to people's homes. So I mean, just for my business, okay, yeah, like it's adding on an
Got
extra,
it.
like a point at one, but
Got it.
traffic and oh, it's high season and cruise ships. Like
Oh
sometimes there's like
yeah.
up to 10 cruise ships in high season. So then you have to don't go down the waterfront or don't like so there's a little bit of
Okay.
like logistics to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. I love the
Yeah.
whole. I mean, it's true because I mean, one of the things you talked about, which I really love, is the fact that you've pivoted twice, but you're still making time for. Most people would end up staying on the island and not leaving because this is like that's paradise. But there's a sense of, and you said it earlier, being able to explore other places, right? And your spouse Janice is not nomadic, but she has seen so much of the world, right? And so I'm sure some of that is now come has kind of fallen onto you by osmosis as well. Her sense of adventure is also passed on to you, and then your sense and your personality is also rubbed off on her as well. So I love the fact that you've been able to do that. I love the example of traffic, and it's all relative depending on where you are. And so yes, Tokyo, which has like the population of all of Canada in this city versus yeah, right, something like that, right? And then I don't know how many people on the Grand Cayman Islands, but I can just imagine how that skyrockets when tourists come to the town as tourist season, et cetera, et cetera. So very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I mean, two pivots is a big thing. So what do you miss about home? Obviously, there's the obvious answers of family and friends and all that, but are there other kind of modern comforts or conveniences or things as to how they work on island time versus home? Because I mean, it's all very much a change and transition as well, I would think.
Yeah. Well, my credit card is a lot happier now because it's not full of Amazon Prime. So my wife is also very happy as well too.
Nice.
Laying in bed, oh, I think I need this like heat seat warmer for the
Right.
car, and oh, it just morning. So there's definitely obviously none of
Yep.
that. I think it's about 6 to 8 weeks to order an Amazon order.
Wow.
Um, yeah. And then also with that, like the phrase here is soon come.
Okay.
So it's like everything, it's basically like island
Okay.
time, I mean, stuff will eventually come, but then also like it could be like a tropical storm coming. So now everything else is delayed. And so this place requires a lot of patience with things like that, and I will admit there are things that I do think like, oh yeah, I would really love, you know, something, and then like, oh, it's gonna no, but by the time I order it, it's gonna be. I just think, I'll wait till we go back to Canada in the summer. Like, how bad do I actually need it? But I will admit we're living so much more simplistic here. In Canada, we had our house and we had all of our things. 10 years of being together and collecting stuff from the wedding and everything. here everything is fully furnished and we just rent a condo. So we actually don't own a lot of stuff. Uh, and so it's kind of nice in the sense of, when I think of ordering something and I think like we're in a really tiny condo. It's like what actually do you really need? Like you actually need it. You think about it more than just in Canada, I'm gonna hit the button because I need it. Where here it's like you're a lot more a little bit more mindful of like, actually, do I really need that? You know, and then also it's going to take 2 months to get here. And then where are we going to put it? Because, do you see what I mean? So while I do miss that comfort of having those things, I think it's actually, it's living simplicity is, feels better for me. Actually, I feel a lot more free like
Wow, that delayed
that.
gratification is I mean, I love that because I mean I can relate to that also as a result of our trip and
Mm.
travels on our trip around the world. You realize
Mm.
that every worldly possession we have is on our backs or we're rolling it in a carry-on suitcase. And what I loved about the whole process is that we were fortunate enough to rent our house out to a family just down the street from us. We're doing
Mhm.
renovations during the same time, but we had to get rid of a lot of stuff. And I didn't think we had a lot of stuff because I'm much of a minimalist, and Janice is kind of, I'm someone where I tend to throw things out very quickly. And so the kids will bring home art from
Mhm.
school. I'm like, this is beautiful, right? And then it goes right into the recycling box. And so I've had to kind of let go of that. And we have a bit of a wall that captures all the art pieces that we've kept. And now that they've grown older, there's not so much of that. But I tend to throw things out because I love everything has its own place. Everything, I'm just very much a minimalist by heart. But what I appreciated, I used to always say to Janice over our trip would be like, wow, everything we own is in our backpack or, in our carry-on suitcase. And we put stuff in storage, but I remember like it was the smallest storage unit and we really didn't need much. Sure, our furniture was left behind for the tenants that stayed here, but there's very few things that we need that really bring you joy. I mean, the material possession stuff and all that, simplicity is so much, it brings me so much joy and fulfillment. So I completely agree with you, especially if you've got a smaller space, you don't have a place to put them, and you realize like, oh, do you really actually need it? And then you think about all the things you've accumulated over your life, and you're like, wow, you've forgotten about it or you've moved on, or if it's still in storage, you've kind of moved on. You're like, I haven't seen this stuff in years. So, um, very interesting. Very interesting. What's maybe so lightning round, just a couple of questions about your life from prairies to paradise. So, um, what's tougher, an outdoor yoga session in 35-degree heat or recess duty in minus 35-degree wind chill?
Oh, the
Oh,
recess
yeah. Okay.
duty. Oh,
No doubt about that. Okay.
yeah, I would take the heat over the cold
Okay.
any day.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what's kind of one wellness trend would you say that you kind of secretly roll your eyes at? You're like, oh God, I can't stand this. This makes no sense. It's too much of a fad.
Um, it's the whole like the yoga thing. People are like, I can't do yoga because I'm like not flexible enough. And it's like if you know anything about yoga, it like actually has nothing to do with touching your
Right.
toes.
It's okay.
But
Nice.
a lot of teachers will teach like, oh, you can't do this pose because, like, and it's like, no, it has nothing to do with touching your
Yeah.
toes.
Yeah. Okay.
That's not yoga.
That okay. Very interesting. And what's your go-to comfort meal when island life feels too far from home?
Oh yeah, so there's this restaurant like 5 minutes from us. It's jerk chicken,
Ooh.
and like I know that's a Jamaican, it's a Caribbean meal, but there's something about the jerk chicken. Actually, you know what it is,
What?
Charles? It's the mashed potatoes that comes
Oh,
with it.
okay.
Yeah, they feel like home. They feel like mom's like whipped like mashed potatoes. So it's the jerk chicken, but yeah, now that I said that out loud, it's actually
That
potatoes.
is amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
And what's something about the Cayman Islands that most people don't know about?
Hmm. What do people not know about the Cayman Islands? Oh, that's a
Or
great
is there anything that
question.
surprised you when you got here? Like, oh, either you didn't know about it, or you wish someone had told you, or something that yeah, anything along those lines.
I don't like the island, they say this whole Cayman Kind thing. Cayman Kind, and I think like I mean, we'd never been here before, but they hashtag Cayman Kind a lot. And uh I'm not sure if this is really answering your question, but it just kind of came to me with people are like the Caymanian people here are like it feels like home. Like it's that you know how can a lot of people say Canadians are so friendly and so welcoming. I feel that way here. Like people, the residents here are like there is that like Cayman Kind feel where like we're so happy you're on our island and you're here to like help our people and a lot of the websites you read like I love Cayman Islands or you know a lot of people will say that like hashtag Cayman Kind. So I have it's been hard moving, but also like being in a country where the people are so nice and so friendly and you feel so welcomed definitely has made us want to stay.
Wow. And so you said it's been 4 years since you've made the move to the
Mhm.
Cayman Islands, you with this new life. What's lighting you up? Where's your curiosity or creativity
Mm.
pulling you next, personally or professionally?
Yeah, so I mean professionally I think it I am just you know the whole entrepreneur thing of I do like living in the space of I'm not really sure what happens and so that lights me up in some ways. Also I have just brought singing back into my life. I've always been a singer but I just recently joined a band. um I am I'm doing the I mean the first obviously 4 years has have been like you know the business blood sweat and tears you know working long hours and not that I still don't do that. um, I have been missing my spirit and soul has been missing music so bad um, that I just yeah a few months ago I started a rock band and and I'm just leaning into singing more. So I think it's going to be now that I'm feeling confident about it again. I think I'm going to just be spreading music more on the
Oh,
island. Hopefully,
beautiful,
fingers.
beautiful. Because you were so you were
Yeah,
singing in Saskatchewan. You were part of a musical group, Sask Express?
yeah, yeah. I was in Saskatchewan Express, so that was like, oh my goodness, that's it's really going to age me. That was like high school, so like well over 20 years
Wow, not that
ago.
long ago. Come on.
But
Yes.
yeah, music was a big part of my life
Hmm.
earlier on, and then it's been on the back burner now for years and again since moving here obviously the focus was on building the business
Wow.
but music is back and I feel like I'm ready.
Wow. Beautiful.
Yeah,
Beautiful. And
thank you.
was there was there ever kind of that first what have we done moment when you first arrived? I know you talked about the fact that you get up, you're grateful every day, but was it like your first island power outage, or was it that you realized your hair had a new climate it had to negotiate now? I don't have that problem, so I don't know if like what do you find like how has that gone in terms of that adjustment as well?
I mean, the first year was very challenging, no
Mm.
doubt. And yes, definitely, I had to chop off all
Mm.
my hair. It was down to when we first moved here, it was like down to like the middle of my shoulder.
Okay.
So
Wow, okay.
I never wore it down, so I thought we may as well just chop it all off anyway,
Nice.
because so frizzy.
Okay. Wow. Wow.
So the hair is one thing.
Okay. And what made that first year difficult? What made it challenging for you? What was the
Well, I was really homesick. Um, you know, and I'm really, really close with my nieces. We don't have kids of our own, so I'm my nieces basically feel like my own kids. And so we lived only 10 minutes apart from each other. So I would see them so much and you know we were so intertwined. So moving here the first year was really rough. Lots of these video chats and you know but it's kids it's as you know from having kids of your own it's you don't you it's different with an adult where you can hop on a chat like this and with kids it's a different connection. They don't have the attention spans either to you don't catch up like this you know. uh, so the first year I was my heart was you know and actually they were Rhett, she's my oldest niece now, she just turned 10. She would actually call me, Charles, and she would say, Auntie, how much longer till you can move away from that island? I don't want you to be there anymore.
Oh, they have
And
kids.
I could
Oh,
literally
wow.
feel my shatter into like a
Wow.
million pieces. She was like 7 at the time.
Ah.
So and she's like, "You're missing my whole first year
Oh,
school
wow.
year." And I'm like, "Oh, you're really pulling at Auntie's heartstrings here. Oh my goodness." And now she's 10 and friends are like the
Of
most important
course.
thing, and she's
Of
forgotten
course.
old aunt in the Cayman.
Have they come down to see you in the Cayman Islands?
They haven't, but hopefully my sister's planning a trip maybe like in the next year or so. All of our family members have been here aside from my nieces. Obviously, it adds an extra to bring the kids as well. So, but yeah, I'm fingers crossed. Like it's going to be, I think, a Christmas gift one of
Oh,
these years.
beautiful. Oh, they would love that. There's
Yeah.
this, okay, they'll be able to see you in your own environment. That is amazing.
Well, I think once they come here, they'll be like, "Okay, Auntie,
We
I see why you're not
understand.
coming.
Yes.
Yeah, you stay there. We'll come visit
Oh,
you."
geez. So amazing. Amazing. Stacey, this has been
Yeah.
absolutely
Hmm.
amazing. Thank you for sharing your journey, your pivot from being a teacher to getting into yoga, and now even from your time as a yoga instructor to now doing that full throttle with all the other supports you provide to your Canadian now family as well, and that switch from life in Regina then to life in the Cayman Islands. It's been such a joy to hear about your pivots and the pauses along the way, and just to even hear your own thought process as part of the journey as well. And I can tell, I can see the glow, and I've heard so much about it. And the fact that Janice, my spouse, has had a chance to enjoy life there in the Cayman Islands, to see the life that you guys are leading, and how much joy that you both have for each other there. It's been such a joy to be able to hear your story and for me to be able to share it with our listeners today. So thank you so much for making the time. And if listeners want to be able to hear more or see more about the services you provide, I know you're in the Cayman Islands, but just to hear more about your journey, where can they connect with you or learn more about the work that you're doing?
Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm at Island Breather. And then also my website is islandbreather.com. So I don't have a ton on my website, but if you looked it up, you could find a way to connect to me and get a little bit of an idea of what I do.
Excellent. We'll make sure we include that in the show notes. And yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure, Stacey. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, Charles.